Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you're joining me for this video. Thanks once again for clicking on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. The subject of today's video is the new 2021 Parker 51 Fountain Pen. Before I get started, let me remind you to check out these awesome t-shirts that are sold exclusively on inkjournal.com. The link is in the description below. Also, don't forget to check out the PenBoyRoy Pentertainment podcast, available on your favorite podcasting app. Just be forewarned, it's not for children. You have been warned. So this is the second Parker fountain pen I've reviewed. The first was the 2018 Parker Jotter fountain pen. Check out that review after this one if you want a more thorough brand history, including dates and whatnot. Just wait till the end of this video to check it out. I'll remind you at the end by leaving you an end card for you to easily click on. I'm just nice like that. But just to give you a brief history of the pen in question today, the Parker 51 was first released in the year 1941. Since its release and over the next 30 years, the Parker 51 saw a huge following and success. The brand sold so many pens that they actually stopped counting how many were sold after about the 12 millionth mark. There is an approximate estimate that the total amount sold ranges from 20 to 50 million pens. That's a lot of friggin' pens. At the time, although a very plain, boring looking writer, it was a highly coveted item, leading to those who actually couldn't afford one, merely buying a cap to display in their pocket as somewhat of a status symbol. The pen was not popular for just its good looks, no. It was leading in the industry for its innovation and function. It was a pen that was designed and built to write in any condition. In addition to the concept of a hooded nib that prevented the nib from drying out from being uncapped, it also had a very unique filling system called the vacuumatic. Now, over time, the filling system did change from the vacuumatic filling system to the button filler to the aromatic filling system to finally the cartridge converter in the year 1961. Unlike the Parker 51 of the golden years, sporting the innovative filling systems, the 1961 iteration sporting the cartridge converter filling system didn't see the success that its predecessors saw. So, later in the 21st century, the brand, under new ownership, decided that they are going to re-release the iconic Parker 51. They released it in the year 2021 with the cartridge converter filling system. Only they didn't include the converter portion of the cartridge converter filling system. Not unless you opt to buy the upgraded version of this pen sporting an 18 karat gold nib for more than double the cost. As of the writing of this review, this pen is available with retailers online here in the US. This pen was provided to me on loan by my good friends over at Goldspot Pens for review. So, thank you for that. Be sure to check out goldspot.com for your fountain pen needs. That's all I have for the background information. Moving on to the neutral zone. Those elements about the pen that are either good or bad, or it can be good or bad, depending on you. The nib we have here is an in-house made nib, covered almost entirely by the hooded section. The feed is also an in-house made plastic feed with the nib size marked in the impression on the underside of the feed. The nib and feed are enclosed in the slanted hooded section. The hooded section retains its vintage shape and tapers to the nib. At the end of this section is a metal ring that in the vintage Parker 51s were used in the capping. It would be here where the interior of the vintage pen cap would catch grooves in the metal ring and keep the cap secure. In the case of our new Parker 51, it is merely here as an aesthetic. The metal ring is also part of the section thread assembly. The section threads thread into the injection molded barrel's inner threads. The outer threads of the barrel are used in capping with the metal threads in the cap. The rest of the barrel is a tapering New York City dirty water hot dog style barrel. The cap is a brushed metal cap that screws its metal threads into the barrel's plastic threads in 1 1/4 rotations. The finial is a time and time copied, slightly pointed finial made of steel. There was a time when this finial was a gem. That time has passed. The pointed finial sits atop a slight step design base. The clip is the modern redesigned Parker branded arrow that everyone and their mother copied. The clip is moderate in terms of tension and gets the job done with the help of the bulging bulb arrowhead at the end of the clip. The center band is a polished metal center band with the brand name on the front and the country of manufacture on the rear. The pen was packaged in this white cardboard box. A lot of thought went into this packaging here, folks. Open up that box, and you have a hard, dark green clamshell paper finish box with the brand and logo on the top. Open up that box, and you have your pen sitting atop a bedding. Underneath that bedding reveals a secret compartment that hides the included ink cartridge. Also included is a free serving of disappointment. That's all I have at the neutral zone. Moving on to the good. Those elements about the pen that are good. I think that this pen is made well enough. The threads on the pen when capping are smooth, and although the resin is a cheaper injection molded plastic, it's really glossy and good looking. It's a decently finished pen, and unlike all the cheap copies out there, this looks like a product that was made by the brand. That's all I have for the good. Moving on to the bad. Let's talk coin. This pen has an MSRP of $109 here in the US. With retailers here in the US, you can score this pen for $87.20. That seems to me like a whole lot of money for what this pen is. In my opinion, this pen is a lazy rendition of the Parker 51, reaching for the price while resting solely on its legacy. Now, let's not forget its 18-karat upgraded brother that runs for an MSRP of $310 and a retail price of $250. They have lost their minds. That's all I have for the bad. Moving on to the ugly. Those elements about the pen that should not be, but are. I have to say this. At best, this is the okayest writing experience I've had. And I mean that. This is at its best. Now be advised, this writing sample was performed after a thorough washing with dish soap and a thorough rinsing with water. And for the most part, the pen wrote with a dryness that had me constantly feeling like the ink was just about to starve on me. But that didn't happen. Instead, a couple of times it hard started. You can actually see it in the writing sample if you're looking closely. When it comes to the smoothness, I will say that it feels smooth to a point where it definitely feels over smooth. It actually gives me the feeling that it's going to give me baby's bottom or something. But like I said, it did hard start a couple of times while writing, most notably during downstrokes on stems of lowercase letters and whatnot. It's not a good feeling. But when that didn't happen, it was, and I'll say it again, at best, the okayest writing experience I ever had. The balance of this pen posted is the preferable way to write with this pen, as writing with this unposted, although also decent, feels a bit too light and short. My concern is also that over time posting the pen will cause scuffing on the barrel. And considering how shiny this pen is, that sure would be a sore sight. And speaking of scuffs, I can't stand it when capping a pen causes damage to the pen. And that is exactly what we have here in the section. The very act of capping causes these subtle scratches that will, over time, no doubt become more and more pronounced. Now, earlier in the good, I mentioned that this pen was made well enough, and I meant it. It's a good-looking pen. The problem I have is the material it's made with. I feel like the injection molded plastic was a poor choice. I wish they went with a more scratch-resistant material. Now, although I did say that this pen does feel like something that is made by the brand and doesn't look like any of the cheap copies or knockoffs out there, there is still a quality about it that makes it feel generic. Here's why. Take a look at these here pens. Here we have our Parker 51, the $25 Parker Jotter, and the $40 Parker IM. Now watch this. I'm going to take the barrel off the Parker 51 and demonstrate to you that all the barrels of the Jotter and IM fit perfectly onto the Parker 51. That's just funny to me. Let me also talk about why this Parker 51 feels so lazy to me. See, it seems that this pen is a relaunch of the Parker 51, but is missing everything that made the Parker 51 a Parker 51. Not just because of the filling system being a cartridge or a converter, because one could argue that in 1961 the brand did in fact make a Parker 51 cartridge converter, right? But because everything else that was the essence of the vintage Parker 51 is gone in this pen, starting with the cap not being a snap cap to the nib. Other than being a hooded nib, is not even close to the original Parker 51 nib. Rather, it is the exact same nib found on the cheaper $25 Parker Jotter. Oh, and let's not forget the bare bones packaging. Not only is there no converter included with this pen, but nothing in terms of booklets, warranty, or instructions. No literature. For a pen that has so much history behind it, it's sad to see that the brand didn't care enough to include literature celebrating its relaunch. Not a booklet, not a card, not a sheet of paper, not a sheet of loose leaf, not a Post-it, not even a cocktail napkin with something scribbled on it. Nothing in the way of anything to say that you are the buyer of a piece of new history. Not a thank you card, nothing. Like I said, lazy. It's either lazy or they just don't care. That's all I have for the ugly. It's high noon. Decision-making time. Should you or should you not pull the trigger on the 2021 re-release of the Parker 51 fountain pen? If you're a fan of the vintage Parker 51, then this pen will disappoint you with its lazy lack of features that made the vintage pens so successful. On the other side of the coin, let's just say that you know nothing of the original Parker 51 and you get this pen for the first time. Then I would say that for sure, with the writing experience, features of the pen, as well as the lazy presentation and overall care given to the packaging, this will leave you wanting, as the price paid is a long shot relative to what is offered. Had this pen been in the range of $40, that may have made the sacrifices to the pen more easy to stomach. But at $87 and a hit or miss writing experience, no thank you. Thank God I got this pen on loan and don't have to pay for it, because for me, that would have been a golf club to the nuts. I really wanted to like this pen for its tradition and history, but it's kind of hard, impossible even, to like something for its tradition and history when the tradition and history is stripped away from it completely and all that is left is a shell that looks like a Parker 51. That was my review of the 2021 release of the Parker 51 fountain pen. I hope you found it helpful. Thanks again for watching. Love you guys. Be well, be safe.